So a couple hours ago, Adam Something, a much smaller YouTuber than me, released a video on Cyberpunk. Car Brain ruins Cyberpunk 2077. That's exciting. I like Adam Something. I like Cyberpunk 2077. So earlier today, before I actually watched the video, I clicked on it to read the comments because I was already watching a video. And, oh boy, you know, Adam Something has a lot of lovers. I'm one of them. These comments are something that I, as a very small YouTuber, would not want. I think you forgot the idea was to make a dystopian American city in the future. They did a good job with that. Or, ooh, yeah, this has to be an April Fool's video. That took too long to upload. Anyway, so I haven't watched the video yet, but I thought it'd be fun to react to it because I like Cyberpunk. It has its own flaws. It's far from a perfect game, but my favorite part of Cyberpunk is Night City, and I love the cars there. And for those who don't know who Adam Something is, he is a Hungarian-born guy who has a lot of videos on car infrastructure and basically just how suburbs ruin everything, how cars ruin everything, and how trains are awesome. So I agree with basically all of that stuff. But I also think that Cyberpunk does a really good job with these aspects, both because it's a dystopia and supposed to be kind of bad, but also because Night City is way more walkable than basically any city in America. Anyway, so let's get to it. I'm very curious why people are kind of upset.
Cars. Cars are cool and interesting machines. They come in lots of neat forms and shapes, and they are fun to drive. They are a great hobby and a useful tool to get around where there is no good alternative. So cars are great. The problem starts when they get to dominate our lives. When all our public spaces are given over to cars and we focus on very expensive and wasteful car infrastructure at the expense of taxpayers' money and physical space.
All right, so I'm pausing here. Editing Blake will have skip past basically into here about we're past the 4-minute mark on the video, which a few of those minutes were an ad. He's talking about the rough development history on Cyberpunk, which yeah, I mean is his own story to tell. But I like you, Adam. Can you get to the part? I don't know how any of this is relevant.
Blade Runner had you question what it means to be human, whether androids dream of electric sheep, if you will. Ghost in the Shell had you consider a world where the mind can be completely detached from the body, and the question of how would a synthetically born intelligence fit into all that. And then we have Cyberpunk 2077 coming in with hot takes such as corporations are bad. Then it goes on to touch on deeper cyberpunk themes, but doesn't do much with them.
Okay, my first impression is, dude, did you play the game? I can see why people are sort of roasting him a bit in the comments, because already, like, okay, so Cyberpunk 2077, I'm not going to claim it's like the best ever piece of cyberpunk media ever made. The thing with cyberpunk as a genre is that it's so inherently political. All genres are political. You can't really escape it. But cyberpunk is directly dealing with laissez-faire capitalism gone wrong and all the ramifications of that, body mutations, transhumanism, trans stuff, it's in the name, transhumanism, being able to choose your gender both like in a conceptual level here, but also like literally like here's a robo penis that you can install both if you're cis and not cis. You know, maybe you're a cis woman who're like, I just want to see what it feels like to have a robo penis, and you could do that, and that transforms human society. So cyberpunk as a genre begs to be more political, and sure, Cyberpunk 2077 it ain't no Disco Elysium, right? It's not super in your face about it, but there's so many side stories, and the main plot is also, all of it is extremely political. I don't think it just dips its toes into it. This sounds like you played maybe the prologue and you yourself have only dipped your toes in the game. Off to a rough start here, man.
The game literally calls itself Cyberpunk. It's like a game called Ultimate Post-Apocalyptic Narrative RPG, and you boot it up and it's Fallout 76.
Cyberpunk is called Cyberpunk because the genre was like 8 years old-ish, kind of, sort of, when the tabletop game came out. So, I don't know. It's sort of like, what's like an example I could think of? It's derivative because it is almost like the OG, or at least the cluster of originals, right? It's like complaining about how you're watching a Shakespearean play, and you're like, wow, this is like full of like tropes and shit. I've seen this story before. It's not that deep. It's like, okay, but Shakespeare was like the guy. Cyberpunk 2077 isn't quite like that. It's not as extreme, but I hope that example makes sense. It kind of is derivative because it's pulling from a lot of ideas and stuff from the 80s, or, you know, with Neuromancer, Blade Runner, a lot of other things, right? So I disagree with this.
So how come CD Projekt Red's indentured servants couldn't come up with a better story or even a theme to explore?
No spoilers, but the theme that this game explores is like, what is death? What is life? What is like the afterlife? What does it mean to have a soul? You know, just casual questions, right? That are very easily answerable, right? Just very shallow stuff. Okay.
2077 was so underwhelming compared even to the more sober expectations. How come that despite the insane amount of work going into the game, pushing developers to their absolute limit with multiple long delays even, and the game costing almost $500,000, how come that after all that, the game was still so undercooked and rife with bugs? My hot take? Because of cars. Okay, so how does this compute when it comes to Cyberpunk 2077? Pun very much intended. Consider this. Everything I just told you, the sense of enclosedness, the smaller field of view, things being reachable on foot, areas linked by set lines of public transit, all of these also happen to be major labor-saving methods in video game design. And Cyberpunk 2077 did not utilize any of them. Because of this, Night City is basically a suburb masquerading as an actual city. You need a car to get basically anywhere.
I have one question. I have two questions. What the fuck, and did you play the game? I love cars. I like the driving in this game. I almost exclusively walk and, frankly, double jump around to get by, mostly because the city is so dense and they're so interesting, and, you know, everything's so close by together that I'm gonna hop in my car, drive for 30 seconds, and arrive at my destination usually anyway. So may as well just sprint and dash. So let me actually go back like a few seconds. Like, what?
Did not utilize any of them. Because of this, Night City is basically a suburb masquerading as an actual city. You need a car to get basically anywhere, unless you want to stare at your character walking for an hour.
No. Sometimes I'm trying to think of like an argument. He's just so wrong that just no.
Designing Cyberpunk 2077 around cars had resulted in a number of problems for game developers. The first and biggest being that they had to build an enormous map. Cars are very mobile, and as long as there are no traffic jams in front of you, you can get to places extremely quickly compared to walking.
On the enormous map, Cyberpunk the game, the map is big for a video game, but if you overlay it with like any city, it's actually kind of small because, you know, gameplay sort of takes precedent, time, resources. Like, physically, it actually ain't that big. It's just very dense, which seems to... But it looks like Adam doesn't think it's dense. He thinks it's just like a suburban sprawl.
Traffic in Night City is deliberately set on low to improve game performance and to not have the players stew in traffic jams. But this also means that the city has to be much, much bigger. Otherwise, car rides would take 10 seconds and the city would feel tiny.
Car rides within neighborhoods does kind of take 10 seconds. Not like literally. I guess if we're going from one end of the map to another, it takes maybe a few minutes. But once again, what? Who told you these things, Adam?
This alone puts a colossal workload on your developers, which led to the aforementioned massive crunches at CD Projekt Red, which then took away precious development time from things that actually matter.
You keep talking about the developmental process. I know, please critique the higher-ups for pushing out Cyberpunk in a totally bad state that was really only kind of sort of okay for higher-end PCs. It's 2025, though. The game is fixed. It's on the scale of big open world games being polished, like, it's a pretty polished game. It's a low bar, to be fair, right? I mean, these types of games are very hard to make, and there's always going to be bugs and issues, whatever. Right now, though, if you play Cyberpunk right now, regardless of your system, you're not going to experience any odd bugs, any other bug that you wouldn't experience in literally any other game. And so I've actually been replaying Cyberpunk myself recently, and I'm playing on a laptop, a very nice laptop, but it ain't a gaming laptop at all. It's just, you know, it's souped up for video editing and can play games at a PS5 level, basically. And I'm fine. I've also played the game on PS4, so don't come at me. I was there from the beginning. I knew how bad it was, but this isn't making any sense to your thesis.
Reliance on cars had forced Cyberpunk developers to build out a 200 square kilometer map, much of it being a very high.
I don't think they built a map big because of cars, though. I think that's just kind of like a AAA developer or a developer with AAA money. They're just kind of like bigger is better is sort of their thinking. Now, is that correct thinking? Probably not. It's probably better to build smaller, better games, right? But yeah, I don't follow. That's totally a correlation versus causation. The game wasn't bad or buggy or big because of cars. It's an American city, so it's going to be car centric, and you know they're riding the high off The Witcher 3, which is a big success. So yeah, they're going to make it bigger and better. Well, you know, better came later, but it's better now.
Something that jumps out at you immediately is just how bad the car controls are. Like, it's just WASD, then there's the handbrake, but there's no option like, you know, double tap W to really step on the gas. So I guess my biggest gripe with Cyberpunk 2077 is that, like, there's so much in here, there's so much content in this game, and pretty much all of it is mediocre.
PC players, can you tell me, how do you like the controls? I play on controller, regardless of if I'm playing on PC or not. I'm just grew up on a console. I'll never learn WASD, whatever the bullshit. Are the controls bad? To me, the cars handle fine. There are critiques on how the cars control, but as far as, I don't know, man, playing on a keyboard, is driving fun ever on a keyboard? I don't know. If you're watching this video, let me know if you have fun with it or if you'd rather just a controller all the time for driving cars. I'm not sure if this is a fair critique or not. Driving is fine on a controller. You press the trigger to go and you press the other trigger to stop, and that works most of the time.
Pretty much every single aspect of this game feels just undercooked and underdeveloped in various ways.
This would make sense 5 years ago, maybe even like 2 or 3 years ago. I forget when the Edge Runner update came out. But once again, just no? Undercooked. What's undercooked? The story. So the flaws with Cyberpunk to me is just more like the structure and the pacing, some ludonarrative dissonance, stuff like that. I wish there were more like Katana. I have like a lot of smaller critiques, right? Like nitpicks. I would not call this game shallow, though. Shallow? All the characters have a lot of depth. The RPG system has a lot going on with it. There's a lot of role-playing from a mechanical point of view. A good critique to have is that your choices don't really matter too much. Your choices end up just being flavor text. That's a valid critique, but you haven't said that critique. You've just said it's underbaked, and this is one of the most well-realized worlds we've had. I'm waiting for a game to scratch the itch that Cyberpunk does with making such an intricate world. Oh, another critique you could have is that the NPCs and stuff, it's a very static world. Playing Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, right? That game, which of course has different priorities and different goals, but those NPCs are way more reactive and Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is like a proper like immersive sim, and that's what they're going for. Cyberpunk is definitely more of a action RPG with very pretty set dressing behind it. And that's a valid critique or way to describe it, but you're not saying these things. Why are you not saying what I'm saying, Adam? What's wrong with you?
The shooting is mediocre, the vehicle controls range from okay to terrible depending on the person, the role-playing is shit, and then there are the technical details where like stuff really falls apart, like the optimization is still terrible.
No, it's not. Maybe for you, you must have a high-end PC. What do you mean Optimus is terrible? This whole video is just me shaking my head going, no? Why? What?
It's shit like this that you keep encountering over and over and over again in this game. And by the way, I'm playing on patch 2.3, so we're like half a decade of post-release development in, and the game is still in such a state.
I don't know what to tell you then. I just don't. I'm just like, you know, it's like looking. We're looking at the same thing, and we're just having a completely different interpretation on the thing. I didn't even have an argument. I just.
And a further problem is that now you have to account for the player having a 2-ton high-velocity metal tub that they can bring to most places. So you either need to set car drop-off points to prevent the player from parking in scripted locations, or design quest locations in a way that they are separate and cannot be entered by car. So now your game...
I think this is like a non-problem. I don't even know what you're complaining about. You're like yelling at clouds at this point. Maybe I'm wrong. Please tell me if my assessment is incorrect. Correct me correcting him, please. I want to know. I'm just genuinely baffled. I like Adam something a lot. This is probably the first time I've ever strongly disagreed with him. But unfortunately, I am a little obsessed with this game. I've played it like 5 times. It's not a masterpiece, like I said. I have some critiques, but the stuff that's good really works for me. So
Game developers have to spend their time and energy on developing parking policy and implementing transit modal filters instead of focusing on the actual game. The car-centric game world also causes a metric ton of additional work with developing traffic simulations, NPC car on player car interactions, pedestrian NPC on player car interactions, NPC car on pedestrian player interactions, subsequent crowd mechanics, and so on.
But this is because it is a city set in America. You're going to have cars. You just will have cars. What kind of critique is this? That because there's cars and you have to program the AI to react to the cars, that's like what's making it bad? What kind of game do you want to have, dude?
Problems are individually solvable for big developer teams, but if you take them together, plus the need to design a massive, ultra-detailed city, the end result is overwork, constant delays, and the game being stuck in development hell. Then, on release day, players are treated to a buggy, undercooked, unfinished mess that will need constant post-release patching.
It happened 5 years ago. We shouldn't forget. We should still remember that they screwed over their customers and their fan base by releasing a bad game, but also let it go. In the context of this video, I don't see how you're saying, I guess, that it was buggy then and it caused all these problems that still persists to this day, which I guess is more compelling if I had the same experience as Adam, right? If the game was also bad for me and buggy and nonsensical, I guess it would make sense to refer to the past. But to me, the version that I played when it came out, and December 9th, December 10th, am I getting that date right? On PlayStation 4, mind you, that may as well be a completely different game than what I experienced. Definitely, like, yeah, a rough draft for sure. And now the stuff that could be fixed, the gameplay part of the game, it's basically fixed. It's just some of the story issues I still have critiques with, and pacing and stuff like that, but not... What are you on about, man?
Is it a bad game? No, but it's just mediocre. Like, the game doesn't have a highlight. It's like...
Okay, mediocre is like Avowed or Veilguard or... God, a lot of games I could think of, but, let's just use Veilguard because everyone knows that. Veilguard is a very mediocre game because the writing is really cringe, but there's enough other elements to it that are fine enough. Some people will say Starfield is mediocre, which is actually a take I disagree with, but I also understand. To me, that's like a mediocre game. Did you just man, this is like Cyberpunk's biggest hater, right? I mean, I kind of respect it anyway, but yeah, calling it mid is also, I mean, that's cool. That's your opinion, man, I guess.
Like, oh, I play Disco Elysium because of the incredible prose, or I play Elden Ring because of the beautiful world and the difficult but very fun, combat mechanic. And in Cyberpunk 2077, there's just nothing like that. Like, the game tries to mesh so much shit together that, it can't really focus on any of them properly, at least.
What I like about the game is I love the city itself, even though it is static. I have spent just so many hours listening to a podcast or the news or whatever, just wandering around doing side gigs. The side missions themselves, both the story missions and the gig work, the jobs you work as an actual mercenary, they're very small and shallow kind of, but they're super fun, and the combat is really fun. I love playing as a guy with a sword, you hacking my enemies like magic. It's like I get to play as a Jedi. I have played with guns a little bit too. It's fine. I'm not a big first-person shooter guy. I'm not totally into that, but it felt fine enough, especially in the context of an RPG. It's way better gun-wise than anything. Sorry, Bethesda, but like it's way better than like Fallout. It ain't no Doom, but like it's not trying to be Doom. I really like all the characters. I love Keanu Reeves. I love Panam. I love Carrie. I don't know what shit. There's a lot of things I could say like go beyond and above what a lot of other games have done, but whatever.
To give you an idea of how massive this budget is, Deus Ex: Mankind Divided, a game very similar in genre and theme, cost $50 million. About 1/10 of the money Cyberpunk must have burned through by now.
Okay, so you're nitpicking, so I'm gonna nitpick. This game, Deus Ex: Mankind Divided, I forget exactly when it came out, but like what, 2013, 2014, right? Right? Gaming costs have skyrocketed in the 11 or so years since then. So I guess it's still a valid critique. Yeah, CD Projekt Red making a game way too expensive, way too, I don't know, resource inefficient. Older games were made on a shoestring budget and had less problems. That's like true, but it's not probably unique to Cyberpunk. And like all games and movies on this scale and like development, these big studios making these games it's hella expensive. And also, if you've noticed, prices everywhere on everything have gone up since 2014, just a little bit. I don't know how chicken normally costs. I don't know how much of that is just because of the grocery store I went to or whatever, but it was like $12 for some chicken thighs at, granted, it was like I went to like the nicer grocery store. But, and I live in Seattle, but like, I don't know, what's anything supposed to cost, man?
So it would actually make a lot of narrative sense for your character to desire a car. To be up there, high above the filth of the lower city, zooming past the ghettos and slums in your shiny automobile.
Wait, isn't this like an argument in favor of the game then? Because, yeah, in the game, the poorest people don't have a car. In fact, they struggle to afford even the crappier ones. And the people who have money to display their wealth, they drive the bigger cars, the flashy cars, So what do you mean? This is how the game is? You're supporting the game right now with these arguments. Yes, Night City is a corporate hellscape. People who don't need to drive but who have the money and fame to drive, they will drive their giant pickup trucks or whatever. What do you want, man?
Thought about what happens if the player just climbs on top of an NPC's car when it stops at a red light. The game clearly has no idea how to handle this, and other cars around you start bugging out with random NPCs screaming and so on.
See, like, I just feel like he's not like wrong, exactly. It's just a matter of like, you got to meet art halfway. Like, questions you got to ask yourself anytime you play a game. What is it trying to do? What's its goals? Cyberpunk is not trying to be an immersive sim. So yeah, if you hop on the car, traffic just kind of goes on. I don't know. It's just a weird problem to have for it to bug him that much to ruin the enjoyment that way. Like this almost feels like a CinemaSins or a Critical Drinker video, minus of course the right-wing bigotry, and I guess his arguments aren't that bad, but the commonality I think between like why I'm thinking of a CinemaSin video and this video is that like these critiques might be like technically true, but they're shallow and missing the point of what the media is actually trying to do. I don't know. In fact, has any like open world game with cars, have they ever solved the problem of like how do you deal with players doing crazy shit? I guess we'll see how Grand Theft Auto 6 handles it when you get on top of the car. But yeah, normally, like I don't know what you want, man. Do you want a realistic system where someone shoots you in the head and you die real fast because it's Night City and everyone has a gun and road rage is a thing? Sure, maybe. Or do you want to get arrested? You want to get arrested in Night City. I don't know. Like, what are the possibilities here? I guess I just interpret it as, yeah, Night City be crazy. Shit happens. It kind of fits average day in a California city in 50 years. Every California city will be like this.
Many of Cyberpunk 2077's failings are due to an unfocused, megalomaniac yet shallow vision of what the game should be, bloated beyond all proportions, inflated by an incompetent leadership, who refused to accept that the project needed some serious strategic downscaling and instead proceeded to crack the whip and forced their employees to crunch for more than a year.
I mean, this is true. Crunch is bad. Crunch is very bad, and you're obviously blaming this for the structural issues of the game.
I guess it just really annoys me how people have a really low standard for the media they consume. And this especially applies with video games, I feel like. And the video game industry is especially guilty of like being able to get away with releasing unfinished shit and people thinking that it's okay.
Like, this is valid. I hate the fact that Cyberpunk releasing the way it did. It's immoral and unethical, and it sucked for a while. I just don't see how that relates to the current product. If you were reviewing, you know, the first year of Cyberpunk, really, you know, the 1 point whatever, like, sure, but no. And you said that you're playing you're obviously playing the one that's up to date. So sure, but what does this have to do with your point? And I know you made your point. I'm still confused by it.
And Cyberpunk, after half a decade of continuous patching post-release, still feels like it's in late beta. Like the game is not done.
Then you're crazy. Or I'm crazy then. One of us is crazy. One of us, we're not seeing the same reality here. The beta? Look, I could see you rating the game as like a B- or even a C, right? But the game's very done. The game, you know, what has been fixed, and it would take another rewrite entirely. It would require a new game to address the flaws that I have with it. So that doesn't really fall in with the beta, because beta implies like you could fix some stuff after that. But this is...
Cyberpunk 2077 is the prime example of less is more, and it could have been achieved if the game was based on transit and walking instead of cars.
What? I just can't. I just don't see how these ideas are related at all. I still, after 20 minutes of watching this, I don't get it at all.
Have gone a long way in making it a much better game than what it currently is.
An unrelated thesis. All right, let's checking out the comments now. This video definitely did not cook, not even close. Why does this video not acknowledge how Grand Theft Auto is entirely car-centric and one of the most beloved games of all time and counters every single point this video makes? Cyberpunk's problem isn't cars, it was a straight-up mismanage. Such a strange video. Yeah, it's so weird. Okay, so, you know, once again, I gotta say, love Adam something, okay? Recently watched, what did I watch of his? Prague is a joke. Never been to Prague, so I can't correct him if he is wrong, but he made a compelling argument. Then, some trains shit, Centrism Won't Survive, that was a great video. Yeah, I like his discography a lot. His views are well earned. So this is really bizarre. Like, this really was such a phone-in video. I don't know. Anyway, so this is just like a fun, casual video. I've been playing Cyberpunk, trying to make some videos on it myself. So yeah, fun to react, and I want your thoughts on it. Is Adam on the mark? Is he missing something completely? What the hell is going on? I'm the Rat Shepherd. Thanks for tuning in. See you around for the next one, I hope. Thanks.